Let me tell you what you won't be hearing coming up when my show airs. You're not going to be hearing Bud Ford. Come on down. Nope, sure ain't. Went all the way to California and I was a loser. I didn't win squat. They didn't call my name. They didn't. Listen, I embarrassed myself and my family for generations. There's a better chance that I'm going to get kicked out of a wheel than I'm ever going to be on that show. But I'll talk more about that in a few minutes. Right now, I was thinking about the trip on the way in. So you take off. I decided to drive. This was a wonderful idea. I said, I'm going to go be on The Price is Right. This is the last time I got to drive this broke down hoopty I'm rolling in. I'm about to have a real vehicle. I'm going to be rich. I'm probably going to drive back home in a Range Rover with a California tag on account of I made so much money. I moved myself to LA. I might move on down the coast. I don't know. I might do San Diego. In fact, I figure I will have won so much money from The Price is Right before I leave my house. I might buy one in San Diego and one in LA because I'm feeling confident. Yeah. All right, so I'm heading west. Remember, I said I drove. I didn't tell you I made great decisions. You can ask my girl, my mama, all my friends. I don't make good decisions. Driving across California is one, beautiful. Two, busy. Apparently, I'm not the only one that had the idea I should go to Cali this week. It was not an original thought. There were a whole bunch of people going in that direction like they had somewhere to be, like their tails were on fire. I mean, I saw that the LA Kings were playing, but is that any reason to rush out of your house and head west? It ain't like you struck gold. They're the Kings. Whatevs. So everybody's heading in that direction. And I'm thinking to myself, apparently I'm smart because I'm in on the same group. I ain't sitting around. I'm grabbing life by the horns. I'm going to be on The Price is Right because I matter. My future matters. That's why I did it. Also, my girl was all like, you gonna need to bring in some more money. I'm gonna need you to try harder. And I'm all like, girl, whatever. So we'll go win on The Price is Right. I called it a 401k-ish. I used to have a 401k, but I got divorced twice. So now I have a no 01k. If you've never driven across the state of California, and I had not because I'm from South Carolina, so pick on me all you want, but the thought of driving much beyond Oklahoma, in fact, if you grow up in South Carolina, you don't really believe there is much past Oklahoma on this flat earth. People just fly. Keep in mind, I'm a meteorologist. I do understand that the earth is flat. People fly where I come from. They leave South Carolina and they just come back. No one knows where they went. They just come back. And then they talk about all these mystical places that no one really thinks exists until one day they magically go beyond the borders of the state. That might have just been my life. Have you ever driven by one of those cattle farms? And I don't mean a little one, I mean a big one. You could feel, if you have, your nose is already burning. That smell, you're already like, turn it off. You can't get rid of that smell. Tell you something, I made a awful mistake. I had no idea about that. And then I was driving west coming out of Oklahoma in a Jeep Rubicon. I have doors on, I don't have a top on, I don't have a window up. I probably have my shirt off. It was that kind of hillbilly day. Rolling, just outside of El Paso. That car ain't never been the same. Some of the seats in the back started melting. The smell was so bad it burnt my nostrils. I lost my nose hair. Eyebrow was gone when I got through it. The truck ain't never been right. Ain't never run right since. It was awful. The one in Arizona, by comparison, it's pint size. The one in El Paso can go on for 10 to 1,000 miles, depending upon the wind. The one in Arizona ain't going to go no more than 400 or 500 miles. At best, and it's probably going to be blowing east. So if you could just get by it by about 80 miles, you'll survive. Then you get into California. California has a whole new smell. California, you're like, you get out of the car and you're like, California. Well, that's the place you ought to be. It just smells good. It looks good with all the beautiful formations and the rocks. Sort of looks like they're about to film another Star Wars movie in it. At any minute, you're like, this place This place is nice. Then you go a few more hours into it and you realize, dang, all them cars are here, right? You get to Redlands, that's the precursor. That's the beginning of the LA traffic. Now, they won't advertise it as such. It ain't on the billboard. Welcome to Redlands, where the traffic in LA starts sucking and continues all the way to the water. I mean, you can't put that on the sign because it's too many words. If you could get the word number down, you might could do it. But as a guy who worked in marketing his whole life, that's probably not going to stick. You know, like, where's the beef or nothing. It probably ain't going to stick like, just do it. But, okay. Redlands, here goes. You're moving right along. My girl has never really spent much time in California. Neither have I in terms of driving, but, you know, I had to talk like I knew some stuff. So we were driving on in, and we finally got to Rancho Cucamonga. I saw the signs for that. That's around San Bernardino somewhere. And I saw the signs for Rancho Cucamonga, and I got excited and looked. I was plumb giddy. I looked at my girl, and I said, oh, while we're here, maybe we can take in a game with the Rancho Cucamonga Cracker Killers. Ice Cube's on the team. She looked at me like that. That same look, like a dog looks at a TV. And what I said to her was the same thing I'll say to you. If you don't know anything about Ice Cube and the Rancho Cucamonga Cracker Killers, don't blame me. That's on you. He was on the team. If you haven't seen Friday, next Friday, and Friday after next, don't blame me for your shortages in life. You can do better. I'm telling you, they're there. So she didn't know either, but I sure hope to take in a game. Keep on going towards the west, and you get into all the famous places, right? You're rolling down I-10. You're like, famous places that you hear about, all the names. You get to Santa Anita, you know, where they race the horses. I keep that one confused with where the diet is over in Santa Clara. I want to be on that diet. But the Santa Anita, I'm like, I could do some horse racing. I like that. So I keep going west, and it gets, you know, it's really cool because all of a sudden you're driving along and your girl's like, woo, this is cool. Like, she is loving it. And then, remember I said the smells. It smells like California. The sun's out, but it never really got warm. Like, we stayed in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. I think one day we were close to 70. Very similar to the weather we're experiencing here in Phoenix right now. And I'm a meteorologist. I don't want to get too deep into this weather game. But let me tell you something. I did not move to Phoenix, Arizona to live with weather from Kansas City. I didn't come here to be cold. I came here to wear a bathing suit, a skimpy one at that. I'm talking Speedo, and don't hate on me because I live in an old folks community and I got all my original equipment parts. So when I go strut this down by the pool, I'm like chumming the water. You kidding me? You can tell. I'm young and pretty. Best way to keep yourself young and pretty is moving to an old folks community. That's what I've found. Back to what I was saying. We continue heading in to LA, and you start to get the smells on I-5. You roll down the window, and you're like, I just love that California smell. And then you start to smell LA. It's a shame, too, because the state is so beautiful. People like me that don't know that come in from the east and land at LAX and then get in an Uber or a cab or whatever, or a van or in the back of a flatbed, whatever you can get into that you can afford. Going down the street, you start smelling that and you're like, that's a smell of desperation and bad decisions. We were over in Glendale for a large portion of it, or 10 minutes-ish from LAX, or if you're driving it 7 to 12 hours, depending upon the time of day. Glendale's an interesting community, too. It's pretty. It doesn't have water. The little bit of time I spent there, it does have a Hampton Inn, and if you are going, it's a great place to stay. I don't work for Hampton Inn, and this is not an ad. I'm just saying it's not suspect. And some of the places in California, my girl said to me, she was like, listen here, I booked us a hotel for $235 a night. I said, in California? Is this 1987? My dad lives over in Oceanside. If I want to book a hotel room over there, I'm $400 depending. Could be $550. You might can find $399 if you don't want your tires on your vehicle when you get up in the morning. And they're going to charge you $50 to park there anyway. And I don't even want to get into California and some of the stupidity that goes on over there. Do not, if you have not been to California and you are 50-ish or above, get yourself, or below, get yourself there before you turn 50. Because let me tell you what ain't in California. Easy to use bathrooms. No. If you gotta pee, there's a key code on every dang door. I don't mean on a few. I don't mean on an occasional one. I mean on every place you think it's okay that you can pee, you better have a code. Don't tell me about, the code's on the receipt and it's to keep the homeless people out of the bathroom. Then control your homeless people. Don't lock people that gotta pee out of your bathroom. I wanted to buy something, but first I had to pee. Enough. California. Do you know how many times Gavin Newsom and the rest of you kooks that I had to pee outside? I had to pee outside half the time because I couldn't get no, I had to go. I ain't got time to go in here and stand in line, buy something. Kidding me. I'm standing by. Y'all need to stop with that. Unlock the bathrooms. What kind of third world crap are we living in? Back to what I was saying, I do love California. In LA, that smell like we were talking about, but the weather is so nice. My girl was all like, I really want to go to the Walk of Fame. Okay. Last time I was at the Walk of Fame was probably, it was pre-2000. If you were born post-2000, then what you heard was, I bet it was still in black and white. You're right, it was still in black and white. They didn't color those stars and those bricks until 2002. Yeah. But the pictures are much better now. There's more desperation in them. The new thing in LA, and if you haven't been in a while, it's this weird sort of passing out game where they stand completely upright, but they bend over and their head's sort of resting on their ankle bones. And I can't do that as a human, or I'd stand up and show you. But they just stand there on the street, bent over like that. It's really, really weird. It's not attractive, and that's not Chamber of Commerce stuff. We probably need to look at that a little bit. I don't know what causes that, but I'm not that athletic. So if it's something you take, now I got to go work out so that I can get to that point? No. I'm not into that. A lot of stuff in LA, the urine smell will also get to you. But we were early in the day and there wasn't a capping inversion in the atmosphere. So we were able to get a little airflow, which was kind of nice. But as we drove around, she was like, let's look at the stars. So we went to the stars, to the Walk of Fame and all that. And then we went to the Hollywood sign, which was a lot of fun. If you've never been to the Hollywood sign, it's neat. I did have a chance with a friend of mine who was from the area to get a little closer to the sign, which was really neat way back in the day. I didn't know how to do that, so we just drove, and we could get a really good picture with all the power lines in it. But it was beautiful. All of that is neat. I like going through Beverly Hills. We were over in Beverly Hills for a little while. I wanted to go into the watch places like Panerai and Rolex and those. I don't know if Rolex was up there, but I know Panerai was. And I wanted to go in and see it. But then I got to park somewhere, right? So where are you going to park? Well, you could park on the side of the street, but not between 11 and 8 or 8 and 11. And then 1 and 3, you only got 8 minutes you can park, and then 7 minutes. You got to go to sign reading college in freaking Beverly Hills to park a car, and I don't understand that. My girl was all like, just valet it. I'm like, you think that the valet guy in Beverly Hills, California is going to want to park my raggedy 4Runner? No, he's not. He's not going to want to get anywhere near my 4Runner because it's not a Ferrari, a Bugatti, that model that they all drive that they ain't got words on it, just got letters and weird shapes of letters, like on clouds, like the O going, got a little swirl. Anyway, so the cars get all jacked up. He ain't going to want to drive my car. And he deserves better. I'm not going to tip this man $30 like he's used to. Tip this man $5, tell him to have a Coke and a smile. That's what I'm going to do. But no, it's not going to be fair to this man. And his suit costs more than I'm then I'm willing to be a part. I'm not buying into that. You don't need to spend that much money to park a car. But when you was parking them kind of cars, I get it. So I wasn't about to do that. I had to go down this hill, dropped way down. I was on, I think I was Rodeo, dropped way down this hill. My 4Runner got like that much clearance, and it's not lifted or nothing. It's just standard. But no, boy, I barely made it. I had the sunroof open. You could just reach up and touch the ceiling. That's no kind of coolness. So I got over there, and I realized what I was into because the dude that was parking cars was wearing a tuxedo. And I knew to the tip I was going to give this man. He could not afford a gallon of gas in California. He sure as hell wasn't going to get nowhere on the money I was going to give the man. So I felt bad about it. And so I looked at him, and he looked at me, and he could see that I was poor. And he didn't even need to check my credit. He was like, debt to income ratio bad. And then he said, if you're looking for the exit, it's right over there. Just follow the signs. I said, good, because I don't even know what I got into. What I was really saying was, man, that's going to cost me way too much. So I couldn't figure out all the street signs because I don't read Beverly Hills street sign. I didn't go to college for that. So I kept driving around in circles, found no place to park, which actually turned out good because what was I doing in a high-end watch store? I don't need another watch. So I got one. It tells me the time if it's charged long enough or whatever, and it's connected to my phone. So that's a lot going on. I remember when watches, you could just put them on and look at them and they'd tell you the time and whatnot. So we go to the Price is Right ceremonial whole thing. We get in line and it's pretty cool. So we're standing in line and all these people are on level, let's say 78. And I'm on like level 1. And I'm pretty high strung, but I'm low key in it. They're way up in here. I'm number 20 in line. My girl's number 19. It's cool. We're early in line. Once the people start going and I get frisked a couple times and they check everything, because they got to because of safety and whatnot. I go in here again. It was one of those weird days. I needed to go to the bathroom a lot. They didn't require a code. Thank the good Lord. If you go to be on the Price is Right, you'll have plenty of access to a bathroom, and they ain't going to require a code for you to get into it. So take that for whatever it's worth. Stood there, did the thing, got in, checked on my paperwork, signed. Sure, put me on TV. I am looking good. Got my hair did. Got my bangs right. Eyebrows looking good. My girl was all like, I need to get my makeup right. She doing her thing. So we were ready. We were TV ready. The woman behind me stands, she's number 21, and her son is number 22. She comes in and she said, my foot, I need to get a chair. And I was like, okay, over there's a chair. I'm from the South. What am I going to do? Of course I'm going to get the chair for her. I'll do whatever she needs because that's how I was raised. She's like 75. So I run and get her a chair. She sits down. Then she starts telling us, well, this is my 475th time or some such nonsense. She's done been here. The producers all know her name. Like, hey, Constance, what's up, girl? Yeah, everyone knows this lady. So she starts telling me how it's going to be. And darned if she wasn't right. She'd been there enough to know. If you haven't been, let me tell you kind of quickly how it's going to go. You go in, you go through the security checks and all that. Then you're going to go into this room where they're going to spend a lot of time, roughly 2 hours, hyping you up. I mean, people are off the wall nuts. They're insane. Level 78 is an understatement. You have people in there that are screaming like they've been, like, it's insane. So I got through it. All that yelling, I'm not much into a bunch of you yelling. I'm cool and things just being quiet. Vegas is not really my thing because it's so noisy. Man, these people screamed about nothing, everything. Volume had to be at 700%. I know why they were getting the crowd ready. It was fun. It was fun to be a part of. But I looked around the room and I told my girl, we're not getting on this show. Then they put 10 of us in groups, maybe 15, and we go into this room and we meet their head hype guy. I forgot his name. Wonderful dude, though. And so he's like, okay, tell me about yourself and tell me what's your plan. I'm like, I am a dude that teaches people to fly airplanes and I want to win money. That's not the answer they were looking for. These people beyond me started exploding. Their heads going on fire. They're jumping and yelling. One of them's doing cartwheels. When they got to her, she's doing cartwheels. So I pointed a couple of them to my girl. I was like, these two are getting picked for sure. They sure did. Now, I ain't going to share no details about the show because, quite frankly, why would I do that? But I can tell you, if you want to get picked on The Price is Right, take my advice. Be way over the top. Don't be at a level that you think's way over the top because you're still 48 notches too low. If you go in there and you're not absolutely amped up, like you just drank 17 Celsius and 38 cups of coffee, you ain't getting on that show because everyone around me was insanely hyped. I didn't get on the show, but I had a great experience, and I felt like we all were in kind of that same boat. There were some winners, some losers. Drew Carey was phenomenal, fun to speak with, spent a lot of time talking with the audience, so if you're into Drew, you'll enjoy that. We also had George Gray, who was actually very good at crowd work. I don't know his background. He's the guy that goes, "Come on down," that guy. A new SUV, that guy. He's phenomenal. He's great with a crowd, great with a microphone. I mean, he should be. He's professional. But still, not all voice guys possess that quality. In my younger life, I was a radio guy, and I worked around a lot of voice guys. We had one. So this is the guys who do the, not the conversationalist guys. I'm talking about the voice guys. These are the guys that just do announcement stuff like Fox NFL Sunday. I don't have that voice. I can't do that. The ones that go, "This is CNN." I don't have that voice. But the ones that do make a fortune on it. But typically, they are not ones you want to converse with. You don't really have a lot of conversation with these people because their voice is usually so deep. They don't really say terribly a whole lot in most cases for the people that I've worked around. But I also worked around a lot of radio and TV guys. So that's a focal group that's very small. A focus group that's very small. So whatever, you may have had different experiences. But this guy was really good with his big voice at work in the room, and you didn't feel like he was game showing you. So it was kind of neat. That was a fun experience. The lights were cool. Showcase, all the fun games, Plinko, all the games you could think of. I mean, not all of them, but we got to see a lot of really fun games. I didn't get to see Yodeling Guy, and that was on my shirt, so whatever. But got to see all of that, see the lights, see how the studio moves around. And of course, working in television, that was kind of common to me. But my girl absolutely was enamored with the process. And I didn't even think about it because I remember when I first started in TV, I was enamored with the process. It is interesting to see them turn all those things around and get all the props in place. And sometimes the props work, sometimes they don't. Even they have big budgets. I get it at The Price is Right, Fremantle Media or whatever. They have huge budgets. But let's be honest, that stuff was built, some of their equipment was built just like the stuff we have in television studios all across the USA for local news and things like that. You know, the stuff you don't watch. That stuff was built a lot of times in the 70s. Trust me, I can tell you. I worked with anchors that rebuilt sets for free. They paid for just the materials. They're not replacing sets. We were looking at a morning set one time for a television station I was working at. Just the set, the place to sit, was $65,000. That doesn't sound like much to you, but if you're in the TV business, they haven't made $65,000 in 45 years. Ever since the word Google came out, that ended television's profitability. So to spend $65,000 on a place to sit, that is not happening. So it was interesting to see that those same problems, those same issues plague bigger companies. I'm not taking a slight at them, but you can't afford to replace that equipment or upgrade it every time you turn around. And the beauty of The Price is Right is that equipment's supposed to look the same, so you can't go mucking with the process. I get it. I'm just telling you, it's interesting to watch. All of the mics that popped up where you go on Bidders Row, where you go, 1,501. $1, Drew. All those, they weren't working this particular day, so they had lapel mics. They may have been working, but they also had lapel mics, and they use those as backup. We used those for all of our conversation, but it's maybe just a backup mechanism because they are live to tape. I get that. Or those mics didn't work and they were quickly adjusting on the fly, because they sure came out in a big fat hurry to put those on. And so that doesn't seem like it's status quo. The people in the audience had a great time. If you've never done the shuffling game, if you've never been there, they'll do a shuffling game. They'll bring you down, put you on a seat, and then they'll pick you up, they'll move you, and they're just stacking the audience so it looks like they want it to look, which was an interesting concept. Will be an interesting concept if you've never been in television, because with television, there's certain ways we want things to look. Tall people got to be in certain places, short people, because we're trying to get things to look right on television after a lot of experience. And that's what they're doing there. It was a lot of fun to see the whole thing take shape. They're really good at the process from check-in and everything. I did see one of the ladies in the show that was prior talking to some of the help there as you check in. And I mean, she was going off, using words that I'm not sure were okay in that particular setting, but she was kind of by herself with that person. That person was probably 20 years younger than her. It was unnecessary and uncalled for, but I don't know what happened before that, so I'm not sticking my nose in somebody else's business I don't understand. But what I will say is she was way strung up, and I thought, she's the kind of person you want to win. I watched her coming out of the show before us, and she was carrying a winner's card. So she had won a car. She also had a frame that said, "The Price is Right." So I'm assuming she won a car, but I don't know that. None of us left with any of that. I mean, not me, but I don't know if the winners did. I'm not sure what they got, because there were a bunch of winners on our show, like every other show. It was interesting. It's also interesting too when you see how they do the spinning of the wheel process. I'm not going to ruin it for you, because I think that's kind of the magic. But it's not like you think it is. The showcase is not like you think it is either. And the other thing they do on TV, again, I don't want to ruin it for you, but they make the entire studio feel like it's a million miles. I mean, it's huge, but the fact is, it's kind of a small room, and it really plays well in that environment. It's a good time. If you ever get a chance to be on The Price is Right, I'd say do it. You gotta give it a shot. I think we're gonna go back later on this year when they start refilming for Let's Make a Deal. That's Fremantle 2, and it's in the same building. So they'll turn those sets around and create that. So I thought it might be fun to go in and see that building, even though I gotta dress up like a beer barrel or a pizza or, something stupid. But I'm gonna tell you, I don't mind looking stupid, especially if you're going to give me free money. They ain't going to give me free money, but it'll be fun to go check it out anyway. Speaking of podcasts, if you've been checking this thing out for a couple days, like, who is this idiot? My name is Bud Ford. Television, radio, syndication, a lot of fun, did all of those things, and now I teach people to fly airplanes, and that's a good time. But everybody I teach is 20 years old, so my girl's like, you need to get to do something so you can talk to people, because you're wearing my ears out. So this is what I'm doing. I appreciate you spending some time with me. Podcast is available if you want to travel. You get it on Spotify, Amazon, iHeart. You also have it on Apple Podcasts, and it's available on YouTube as well. Thanks, and have a great day.